Lucas Remington never expected a simple hotel mix-up to change his life. But when he entered the wrong room, he came face to face with his ex, the woman who left him without a word, and a little boy who looked just like him, his son. 5 years. Of secrets, one undeniable truth. What happens next? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Lucas Remington stepped out of the gleaming black town car and adjusted his custom-tailored suit. The Bellevue Grand Hotel stood like a monument to wealth and privilege, exactly the kind of place he felt at home in these days. "Your bags will be sent up, Mr. Remington," the driver said. Lucas nodded and slipped him a $100 bill. "Thanks, Jim." The hotel staff practically fell over themselves as he walked through the lobby. That's what happened when you were worth over $3 billion. People noticed, people cared, or at least they pretended to. "Mr. Remington, welcome back," the hotel manager said, appearing at his side like a well-dressed ghost. "We have your penthouse ready, the presidential suite, as always." "Good," Lucas said. "I've been in meetings all day. I need a shower and a drink." "Of course, sir. The elevator is ready." Lucas didn't need directions. He'd stayed at the Bellevue Grand at least 20 times over the past few years. It was his home away from home whenever business brought him to Chicago. The elevator whisked him to the top floor. He was tired. The acquisition deal had dragged on too long, and his head was pounding. All he wanted was silence, a glass of scotch, and to fall into bed. He swiped his keycard against the door and pushed it open. The sound of cartoon laughter hit him first. Lucas froze. This wasn't his room. There was a child on the couch. A little boy with dark hair laughing at some animated show on the huge TV. "I'm sorry," Lucas started to say. "Wrong room." And then the child turned. Lucas felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. The boy, maybe 5 years old, had his face. The same strong jaw, already visible even on a child's face. The same deep-set eyes. The same dimple. On the left cheek. "Hello," the boy said with a curious smile. "I'm watching Spider-Man." A noise from the side of the room made Lucas turn. And there she was. Naomi Ellis stood by the window, a glass of water frozen halfway to her mouth, her entire body rigid with shock. "Lucas?" Her voice was barely a whisper. 6 years. It had been 6 years since he'd seen her. 6 years since she'd walked out of his life without explanation. 6 years of trying to forget the only woman he'd ever truly loved. The boy hopped off the couch and came closer, his head tilted with curiosity. "Mummy, is that my daddy?" The world stopped spinning. The sounds of the cartoon faded away. Lucas couldn't breathe. "Daddy?" His eyes snapped to Naomi, demanding answers without a single word. "Tyler, honey," Naomi said, her voice shaking slightly. "Why don't you go into the bedroom and play with your tablet for a few minutes? Mommy needs to talk to Mr. Remington." "But is he my daddy?" Tyler insisted. "He looks like me. You said my daddy was a businessman who lived far away." Lucas felt his legs grow weak. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. "Tyler, please," Naomi said more firmly. "Just for a little while." The boy looked disappointed but nodded. "Okay, Mummy." He gave Lucas another curious look before disappearing. Into the adjoining bedroom. The silence that followed was deafening. "Is he mine?" Lucas finally managed to ask, though he already knew the answer. The resemblance was undeniable. Naomi set down her glass with a trembling hand. "Lucas, we can't do this here. Is he mine?" Each word came out like a bullet. She closed her eyes briefly, then met his gaze. Yes. One simple word and Lucas's entire life changed. "He's 5? He calculated quickly. "You were pregnant when you left." Naomi nodded, wrapping her arms around herself protectively. "I found out 2 weeks before I left." "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" His voice rose, anger bubbling up through the shock. "You kept my son from me for 5 years? Keep your voice down," she hissed, glancing toward the bedroom door. "He can hear." "You. Good, let him hear. Let him know his mother has been lying to him his entire life." Naomi stepped closer, her eyes flashing. "You have no right to walk in here and judge me. You have no idea what I've been through." "What you've been through?" Lucas laughed bitterly. I'm the one who just found out I have a son who doesn't know me, a son who's been told God knows what about why his father isn't around. I never said anything bad about you, Naomi said. I would never do that. How generous of you. Sarcasm dripped from his words. Why, Naomi? Why did you leave without telling me you were pregnant? She turned away, looking out the window at the Chicago skyline. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. She shook her head. Not now, not like this. She turned back to face him. How did you even find us? Are you staying at this hotel? The absurdity of the situation hit him. I wasn't looking for you. This is where I always stay when I'm in Chicago. The manager must have given me the wrong room key. Naomi closed her eyes. Of all the hotels in Chicago, fate has a sick sense of humor, Lucas agreed. He ran a hand through his dark hair. So what now? You can't expect me to just walk away knowing I have a son. I don't know, she admitted. I need time to think. Think? You've had 5 years to think. His voice rose again, and he forced himself to calm down. How long are you staying here? Check out tomorrow. We're only in town because Tyler had a doctor's appointment. Is he sick? Immediate concern flooded Lucas's body. No, just a routine checkup with a specialist. He's perfectly healthy. Lucas nodded, relief washing through him. Where do you live now? She hesitated. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Only a few hours away, he noted. Convenient. I didn't choose it. To be near you, she said defensively. I got a good job offer there after I left. The bedroom door creaked open and Tyler poked his head out. Mommy, are you fighting? Naomi's expression softened instantly. No, sweetheart, we're just talking, grown-up stuff. Tyler looked at Lucas again. You really look like me, or I look like you. Lucas felt his heart constrict. This was his son, his flesh and blood. A child he hadn't known existed until 10 minutes ago. Yes, Lucas said, his voice softer now. We do look alike. Tyler stepped fully into the room. If you're my daddy, why don't you live with us? Lucas looked at Naomi, unsure how to answer. She sighed. Tyler, this is Mr. Remington. I am your father, Lucas interrupted, unable to let her sidestep the truth. But I didn't know about you until just now. Tyler's eyes widened. You didn't know about me? No, I didn't. But now you do, Tyler said, working through this new information. First seen to Koditindaka. So will you come live with us now? Tyler, it's not that simple, Naomi said quickly. Mr. Remington has his own life, his own home. But daddies are supposed to live with their kids, Tyler insisted with a child's simple logic. Joey at school has a daddy who lives with him. Lucas knelt down to Tyler's level. Sometimes grown-ups have complicated situations, but now that I know about you, I want to get to know you better. He looked up at Naomi, challenging her to contradict him. We'll figure something out, she said tightly, but right now it's getting late, and you need dinner, Tyler. Can my daddy have dinner with us? Tyler asked hopefully. Lucas saw Naomi's. Jaw clench, please, Mommy. I think that would be good, Lucas said before she could refuse. We have a lot to talk about. Naomi looked like she wanted to object, but with Tyler's eager face looking up at her, she couldn't. Fine, we can order room service. No, Lucas said. Let me take you both to dinner. There's a great restaurant downstairs. I don't think... Please. Mommy? Tyler interrupted. I want to go to a restaurant with my daddy. There it was again. My daddy. Each time Tyler said it, Lucas felt something shift inside him, something awakening after a long sleep. All right, Naomi finally agreed. Give us 15 minutes to get ready. Lucas nodded. I'll wait in the lobby. He needed the time to process everything anyway, to breathe, to accept that his life had just been turned upside down. Don't disappear, Naomi said quietly as he headed for the door. He turned back, his eyes hard. That's rich coming from you. In the lobby, Lucas paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had a son, a beautiful, healthy son who was the spitting image of him. A son Naomi had hidden from him for 5 years. Why? Why would she do that? They had been so in love, or so he thought. They had been together for 2 years, living together in his Chicago apartment. He had been on the verge of proposing when she suddenly announced she was leaving. No real explanation. Just that she needed space and couldn't do this anymore. He'd been devastated. Had searched for her for months. Had hired private investigators who found nothing. It was as if she'd disappeared into thin air, and all that time she'd been carrying his child. His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was his assistant. "Not now, Janet," he answered. "But the merger papers—" "I said not now, something's come up. A family emergency. Cancel everything for the next few days." "Family emergency? But you don't have—" "I do now," he said, and hung up. The elevator doors opened, and there they were. Naomi, still as beautiful as he remembered, her dark hair falling in soft waves around her face, and beside her, holding her hand, Tyler, his son, wearing a neat button-down shirt and jeans. "Hi, Daddy," Tyler called out, waving with his free hand. Several heads turned in the lobby. Naomi looked mortified. Lucas didn't care who heard. In fact, he felt a surge of pride. "Yes, look at my son," he wanted to say. "Look at this amazing child I just found out I have." "Hello, Tyler," he said, walking over to them. "You look very handsome. Mommy helped me pick my best shirt because she said this is a fancy hotel." "It is fancy," Lucas agreed. "And the restaurant is even fancier. They have the best chocolate. Cake in Chicago." Tyler's eyes lit up. "I love chocolate cake." "I know," Naomi said. "You get that from your She stopped, looking uncomfortable, but Lucas caught it. "From me," he finished for her. "I love chocolate cake too." As they walked toward the restaurant, Tyler between them, Lucas felt something he hadn't experienced. In years, a sense of rightness, of belonging. This was his family. The family he should have had all along, and he was determined not to lose them again. The restaurant of the Bellevue Grand was as luxurious as the rest of the hotel. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, and the tables were covered with crisp white tablecloths. A pianist played softly in the corner. "Wow," Tyler said, his eyes wide. "This is the fanciest place ever." The maitre d' recognized Lucas immediately. "Mr. Remington, sir. Your usual table?" "Yes, please," Lucas said. "And a booster seat for my son." The word son felt strange on his tongue. New, but somehow right. Naomi tensed beside him but said nothing as they followed the maitre d' to a prime table near the window with a view of the city lights. "Your server will be with you shortly," the man said with a bow before leaving. Tyler wiggled into his booster seat, looking around with wide eyes. "Do famous people eat here?" Lucas smiled. "Sometimes. I once saw a basketball player here who was so tall he had to duck to get through the doorway." Tyler giggled. "I want to be tall when I grow up. Mommy says I'll probably be tall like my daddy." He looked up at Lucas. "That's you." "Yes, that's me," Lucas said, his chest tight with emotion. Naomi fidgeted with her napkin. "Tyler, remember what we talked about using our inside voice?" "Sorry, Mommy," Tyler said, then whispered dramatically, "I'll be quiet." Lucas couldn't help smiling. "So, Tyler, what grade are you in?" "Kindergarten. I can read already. Mommy taught me early." "That's impressive," Lucas said, genuinely proud. "What else do you like to do?" As Tyler launched into an enthusiastic description of his interests, dinosaurs, Spider-Man, and soccer, Lucas watched him, soaking in every detail. His son was smart, articulate, and full of energy. And Naomi had done that. She'd raised him to be this wonderful little person, but she'd done it without Lucas. She'd stolen these first 5 years from him. "Can I have the chocolate cake now?" Tyler asked, after the waiter had taken their dinner orders. "After dinner," Naomi said firmly. "You need to eat your chicken first." "But Daddy said it's the best cake in Chicago," Tyler argued. "It is," Lucas agreed. "But your mom's right. Dinner first, then cake." Tyler looked disappointed, but nodded. "Okay." Naomi gave Lucas a surprised look. She hadn't expected him to back her up. "So," Lucas said when Tyler became distracted by the bread basket, "Grand Rapids, what do you do there?" "I work for a marketing firm," Naomi said. "I'm the creative director now." "Congratulations," Lucas said, and meant it. She'd always been talented. "And where do you live?" She hesitated. "We have a small house near Tyler's school. It's not fancy, but it's home." "Mommy makes it pretty," Tyler chimed in. "She painted my room blue with stars on the ceiling." Lucas imagined Naomi on a ladder, carefully painting stars for their son. Another moment he'd missed. "And you?" Naomi asked. "Still in Chicago?" "Mostly. I have a penthouse downtown, but I travel. A lot for business. The company's grown considerably." "I know," she said quietly. "I've seen you in business magazines." He raised an eyebrow. "Keeping tabs on me?" She looked away. "I wanted to make sure Tyler would be taken care of if anything ever happened to me." "Taken care of?" Lucas's voice hardened. "You mean you planned to tell me about him only if you died?" "No, that's not—" "Are you fighting again?" Tyler interrupted, looking worried. "No, buddy," Lucas said quickly. "Just grown-up talk. Look, here comes our food." The arrival of their meals provided a welcome distraction. Tyler needed help cutting his chicken, and Lucas jumped in before Naomi could, eager for any chance to act like a father. "Thank you," Tyler said politely when Lucas finished. "You're welcome. Your mom's taught you good manners." "Manners are important," Tyler said, mimicking what was clearly one of Naomi's frequent sayings. As they ate, Lucas asked Tyler more questions about his life, his friends, his teacher, his favorite toys. Each answer was another piece of the puzzle, another glimpse into the life he should have been part of. "And do you have a house with a swimming pool?" Tyler asked suddenly. "I have a condo, that's like an apartment, in a building with a pool." "Yes," Tyler's eyes lit up. "Can I swim in it sometime?" Lucas glanced at Naomi, who was studying her plate. "I hope so. That would be fun." "Tomorrow?" Tyler asked hopefully. "Tyler," Naomi said warningly. "We're going home tomorrow, remember? You have school on Monday, but I want to stay with Daddy." The word hung in the air between them. "We'll work something out," Lucas said, meeting Naomi's eyes over Tyler's head. "I promise." After dinner, when the promised chocolate cake arrived, Tyler was nearly bouncing with excitement. "This is huge," he exclaimed at the generous slice. "Remember to share," Naomi reminded him. Lucas watched as his son devoured the cake, chocolate smearing around his mouth. These were the moments he'd missed. First steps, first words, first day of school. All gone, never to be recaptured. The anger he'd been suppressing threatened to surface again. When they finished dinner, Tyler was clearly getting tired, his earlier excitement giving way to yawns. "I think it's someone's bedtime," Naomi said, wiping chocolate from Tyler's face with a napkin. "I'm not tired," Tyler protested, even as he rubbed his eyes. "It's been a big day," Lucas agreed. "How about I walk you both back to your room?" "In for the elevator." Tyler leaned against Lucas's leg, almost asleep on his feet. Without thinking, Lucas picked him up. Tyler immediately wrapped his arms around Lucas's neck and rested his head on his shoulder. The feeling was indescribable. His son's weight in his arms, the trust in that simple gesture. Lucas caught Naomi watching them, her expression a mix of emotions he couldn't read. Back at their suite, Lucas carried Tyler to the bedroom and helped get him ready for bed. He felt awkward, not knowing their routine, but eager to be involved. "Will you read me a story?" Tyler asked sleepily as Naomi tucked him in. "Sure," Lucas said. "Which one?" "The dinosaur one, in my backpack." Lucas found the book and sat on the edge of the bed. Tyler snuggled closer as he began to read. By the third page, the boy was fast asleep. Lucas sat there for a moment, just watching him. His son, his flesh and blood. The child he never knew he had. Quietly, he left the bedroom, closing the door partway. Naomi stood by the window, arms crossed, clearly bracing for the conversation to come. "We need to talk," Lucas said, keeping his voice low. "I know." "Why, Naomi? Why did you leave without telling me about him?" She sighed and sat down on the couch. "It's not a simple answer. Try me. You were just starting to make it big. The company was taking off. You were working 18-hour days." She looked down at her hands. "And then I found out I was pregnant." "You should have told me. I was going to," she said. "I had it all planned out, a special dinner, a cute way to tell you." Her voice hardened. "But then I overheard that phone call." Lucas frowned. "What?" "Phone call. You were in your home office. The door was partly open. You were talking to Richard. Richard had been his business partner back then. And he asked if you were serious about proposing to me. You said, her voice caught. You said, I don't know, man, a wife, maybe kids, that's not what I need right now. I need to focus on the business. I can't have those kinds of distractions. Lucas felt the blood drain from his face. He remembered that conversation. It had been a moment of doubt, nothing more. By the next day, he'd already decided he would propose anyway, that he wanted Naomi more than anything. You left because of that? One conversation you overheard? It wasn't just that, she said. It was everything. The late nights, the cancelled dates, the way your eyes lit up when you talked about the business but glazed over when I tried to discuss our future. So you made a decision for both of us, for all three of us. His anger returned, hot and sharp. You had no right, Naomi. No right to keep my son from me. I was protecting him, she shot back. I didn't want him to grow up with a father who saw him as a distraction, who was never home, who always put business first. That's not fair. You never gave me the chance to prove what kind of father I'd be. Would you have chosen us over the business, honestly? Lucas opened his mouth to say yes, then closed it. Back then, he didn't know. I deserved the chance to try. Naomi looked away. Maybe you did. But I was young and scared and hurt. And once I'd left, it seemed easier to just stay gone. For 5 years. Lucas paced the room. What was your plan? Keep him from me forever? No, she admitted. As he got older, started asking more questions about you. I was trying to figure out how to contact you. Don't lie to me, Lucas said, his voice harsh. If we hadn't accidentally run into each other today, you would have kept right on with your secret. Naomi stood up, her own anger flaring. You don't know that. You don't know what I've been through, raising him alone, trying to make the right decisions. No, I don't know. Because you never gave me the chance. Lucas's voice rose despite his efforts to stay quiet. From the bedroom came a small voice. Mommy, Daddy? They both froze. Coming, sweetie, Naomi called, her voice instantly softening. She shot Lucas a warning look before heading to the bedroom. Lucas ran a hand through his hair, trying to calm down. This wasn't getting them anywhere. He needed to think strategically the way he did in business. Naomi returned a few minutes later. He's back asleep. Good. Lucas took a deep breath. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not walking away from my son. I want joint custody. Naomi's eyes widened. Joint custody? Lucas, you can't just walk into his life after 5 years and demand, watch me, he cut her off. I'll hire the best lawyers. I'll take a paternity test, though we both know it's unnecessary. I'll do whatever it takes. You'd drag us through court? Put Tyler through that if I have to. His resolve wavered slightly at the thought of hurting Tyler, but he pushed on. Or we can work this out like adults. Your choice. Naomi sank back onto the couch. What exactly are you proposing? I want to be part of his life. Regular visits, holidays, school events, everything a father should be part of. And how would that work? You live here, we live in Grand Rapids. I can get a place there, Lucas said without hesitation. Open a branch office, whatever it takes. Naomi looked surprised. You'd do that? He's my son, Lucas said simply. She was quiet for a moment. We'd need to take it slow for Tyler's sake. He's only just met you. Fine, but I'm not waiting months or years. I've already lost too much time. And what about us? Naomi asked quietly. Lucas paused. There it was, the question hovering beneath the surface. What about them? The chemistry was still there. He'd felt it the moment he saw her. But so was the hurt, the betrayal. There is no us, he said firmly. You made sure of that when you left without a word. This is about Tyler now. Something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment? Relief? He couldn't tell. All right, she said. We'll start with visits. Maybe you can come to Grand Rapids next weekend. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I'll be there, and I want your address, your phone number, no more disappearing. Fine. She wrote the information on the hotel notepad. But Lucas, if you're going to be in his life, you have to be reliable. No canceling plans because a business deal comes up. No disappearing for weeks on business trips without explanation. Don't have to keep promises, he said pointedly. Unlike some people, she flinched but didn't back down. I did what I thought was right at the time. Keep telling yourself that, Lucas said. He headed for the door, then stopped. I want to say goodbye to him in the morning. What time are you leaving? Our flight's at noon. I'll be here at 9. It wasn't a request. As Lucas walked to his own room, the correct one this time, his emotions swung wildly between joy at finding his son and rage at the years stolen from him. One thing was certain: his life would never be the same, and neither would Naomi's, because now that he'd found them, he wasn't letting go. The next morning, Lucas arrived at their suite precisely at 9, a gift bag in hand. Tyler opened the door, already dressed and excited. "Daddy, you came back." "Of course I did," Lucas said, kneeling down for the hug Tyler offered so freely. "I brought you something." Tyler took the bag eagerly. Inside was a stuffed dinosaur. Lucas had noticed his son's backpack had dinosaur patches, and their framed photo of Lucas that he'd had the hotel print from his phone. "This is so you remember what I look like until I see you next weekend," Lucas explained. "You're coming to our house?" Tyler asked excitedly. "If that's okay with you." "Yes." Tyler hugged the dinosaur. "You can see my room with the stars." Naomi appeared from the bedroom with their suitcases. "All packed, Tyler? Look what Daddy brought me." Tyler showed her the dinosaur and photo. "That's nice," she said, her tone neutral. "We need to get going soon. The taxi will be here in 20 minutes. "Let me drive you to the airport," Lucas offered. "That's not necessary, I insist." He picked up their suitcases before she could object further. The ride to the airport was awkward. In the back seat, Tyler chatted happily, unaware of the tension between his parents. Lucas asked for updates on Tyler's school and activities, mentally rearranging his calendar to make room for soccer games and parent-teacher conferences. At the departure gate, the moment Lucas had been dreading arrived. It was time to say goodbye. He knelt down to Tyler's level. "I had so much fun meeting you, buddy. I can't wait to see you next weekend." "Me too," Tyler said. "Can we go swimming in your pool?" "Someday soon," Lucas promised. He pulled Tyler into a hug, breathing in the scent of his son's hair, trying to memorize the feeling. "Bye, Daddy," Tyler said, pulling back. "Don't forget." "I won't forget," Lucas assured him. "Not ever again." He stood up and faced Naomi. "I'll call you tonight to arrange details for next weekend." She nodded. "Safe travels back to Chicago." "You, too." He hesitated, then added, "Thank you for doing such a good job with him. He's an amazing kid." Surprise flickered across her face. "He is, isn't he?" As Lucas watched them walk through the security gate, Tyler turning back to wave enthusiastically, he felt a mixture of loss and hope. He was letting his son go, but only temporarily, because nothing would keep them apart again. Not distance, not Naomi's fears, not even his own ambition. His phone rang, his assistant again. "Janet, I need you to clear my schedule for next weekend," he said without preamble, "and find me a house to rent in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Something nice near the Oakwood Elementary School district." "A house in Michigan? Mr. Remington, what's going on?" Lucas watched as Tyler disappeared from view. "My life just changed," he said simply, "and it's about time." The week dragged on endlessly for Lucas. Between conference calls and meetings, his mind constantly drifted to Tyler. He'd find himself staring at the photos he'd taken. On his phone, Tyler laughing at dinner, Tyler waving goodbye at the airport. His son. "Mr. Remington?" His assistant's voice broke through his thoughts. "The Tokyo investors are waiting on line 1. "Right. Sorry." Lucas picked up the phone, forcing himself to focus. But later that afternoon, he found himself ordering toys online, dinosaur figures, Spider-Man comics, and a soccer ball with Tyler's name on it. By Friday, everything was set. He'd rented a furnished house just 10 minutes from Naomi's place. He'd had his assistant stock the refrigerator and order children's bedding for the second bedroom. He'd even had a small basketball hoop installed in the driveway. "Your flight to Grand Rapids leaves at 6 a.m. tomorrow," Janet reminded him. "Are you sure you don't want to tell me what this is about? I've never seen you take a weekend off in 5 years. Lucas hesitated. He hadn't told anyone about Tyler yet. It still felt surreal, like a dream he might wake up from. "I found out I have. A son," he said finally. "A 5-year-old boy." Janet's mouth fell open. A son, how? It's complicated. His mother and I, we have a history. Lucas closed his laptop. I'm trying to make up for lost time. Well, good for you, Janet said, recovering from her shock. He's lucky to have you for a father. Lucas wasn't so sure about that. He'd never changed a diaper, never soothed a nightmare, never kissed a scraped knee. But he was determined to learn. The flight to Grand Rapids was short, but felt eternal. When he finally pulled up to the address Naomi had given him, a modest 2-story house with blue shutters, his heart was pounding. He rang the doorbell at exactly 10 a.m. as agreed. Tyler flung open the door. "Daddy, you came." Lucas knelt down for the enthusiastic hug. "Of course I did, I promised, didn't I?" Naomi appeared behind Tyler, looking tired but composed. "Good morning, Lucas." "Naomi." He nodded politely. They'd spoken on the phone several times during the week, arranging details, but things were still strained between them. "Can we go to the park now?" Tyler asked, bouncing on his toes. "Mommy said we could go to the park with the big slide." "That sounds great," Lucas said. "Is that okay with you?" he asked Naomi. She nodded. "I packed some snacks. It's in the kitchen. I can get it," Lucas offered, stepping inside. The house was small but cozy. Family photos lined the walls. All of Tyler at various ages, some with Naomi, none with any other man. Lucas felt a pang of something like relief. In the kitchen, a woman with grey hair was washing dishes. "Lucas, this is my mother, Linda," Naomi said from behind him. The older woman turned, drying her hands on a towel. Her expression was guarded. "So you're Tyler's father?" It wasn't a question, but Lucas answered anyway. "Yes, ma'am, I am." She looked him up and down. "And now you're suddenly interested in being a dad?" "Mom," Naomi warned. "It's all right," Lucas said. "I didn't know about Tyler until last week, Mrs. Ellis. If I had, I would have been here from day one." Linda's expression softened slightly. "Well, you're here now. That's something." Tyler ran into the kitchen. "Grandma, Daddy's taking me to the park. Is he now?" Linda gave Tyler's hair a gentle ruffle. "You be good then." "I'm always good," Tyler said with such innocent confidence that all three adults had to smile. At the park, Lucas pushed Tyler on the swings, helped him climb the jungle gym, and caught him at the bottom of the slide. Each laugh, each watch. "Me, Daddy," was like a gift. "I wish you lived here all the time," Tyler said as they sat on a bench eating the sandwiches Naomi had packed. "Actually," Lucas said, "I rented a house nearby. I'll be spending a lot of time here from now on." Tyler's eyes widened. "Really? Will I get to visit your house too?" "Absolutely. In fact, I was hoping you might want to have a sleepover at my place tonight, if it's okay with your mom," he added quickly. "Can I, Mommy?" Tyler turned to Naomi, who had been watching them quietly. "Please?" Naomi hesitated. "I don't know, Tyler. You've only just met your dad. Maybe in a few weeks. Please, Mommy, I'll be good." Lucas met Naomi's eyes over Tyler's head. "I've set up a room for him," he said quietly, "with dinosaur sheets and everything." "You work fast," she said, a hint of defensiveness in her voice. "I'm making up for lost time," Naomi sighed. "All right, Tyler, you can stay at your dad's tonight, but I'll come pick you up first thing in the morning." "Yay!" Tyler jumped up and down. Later that afternoon, after stopping by Naomi's to pick up overnight things for Tyler, Lucas drove to his rental house. "This is your house?" Tyler asked, staring at the large colonial-style home. "It's huge. Just temporarily," Lucas said, "until I find something more permanent." Inside, Tyler explored every room, exclaiming over the big-screen TV, the modern kitchen, and especially the bedroom Lucas had prepared for him. "Look at all the dinosaurs!" Tyler ran to the shelves where Lucas had arranged the figures he'd ordered. "And my bed has T-Rexes on it." Lucas watched his son's excitement with a lump in his throat. This was what he'd missed, the pure, uncomplicated joy of a child, his child. They spent the afternoon playing with the new toys, and Lucas ordered pizza. For dinner, a special treat that Tyler informed him they only got on birthdays at home. "Mommy says we need to eat healthy food mostly," Tyler explained as he bit into his second slice. "Your mom's right," Lucas agreed, "but once in a while, pizza is okay." After dinner, they watched a movie about dinosaurs. with Tyler providing expert commentary on which dinosaurs were carnivores and which were herbivores. "I sure know a lot about dinosaurs," Lucas said, impressed. "I'm going to be a paleontologist when I grow up," Tyler announced. "That's a person who digs up dinosaur bones." "That's a great plan," Lucas said. "Maybe we can visit a natural history museum sometime. The one in Chicago has the biggest T-Rex skeleton ever," Tyler said excitedly. "It's called Sue." "I know that museum. We can definitely go there. Promise." "I promise." Bedtime proved more challenging than Lucas had anticipated. Tyler was too excited to settle down, and Lucas realized he had no idea about his son's normal bedtime routine. "Mommy always reads me 2 stories, then sings the goodnight song, then gives me 3 kisses. 1 on each cheek and 1 on my forehead," Tyler informed him. "I can do the stories and kisses," Lucas said, "but I don't know the goodnight song." "It goes like this," Tyler sang in a sweet, off-key voice. "Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite. If they do, take off your shoe and hit them till they're black and blue." Lucas laughed. "That's quite a song. Did your mom teach you that?" Tyler nodded. "Grandma taught it to her when she was little like me." Lucas felt another pang of loss, not just for the years he'd missed with Tyler, but for the history, the family traditions he knew nothing about. After stories, song, and kisses, Tyler finally fell asleep. Lucas stood in the doorway watching him for a long time, still not quite believing this miracle that had entered his life. His phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. "Is everything okay? How's Tyler?" He sent back a photo of Tyler sleeping peacefully with the stuffed dinosaur Lucas had given him. Her reply came quickly. "Thanks. He looks happy." Lucas hesitated, then typed, "He is. And so am I." There was a long pause before her next message. "Good. See you in the morning." Lucas poured himself a glass of scotch and sat on the back porch thinking. His life had completely changed in just 1 week. The business deals that had seemed so important now felt trivial compared to making his son happy. And then there was Naomi. Being near her again had awakened feelings he thought were long dead. Despite everything, there was still something there. A spark, a connection. But could he ever trust her again after what she'd done? His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was Richard, his old business partner. "Lucas, we need to talk about the Singapore deal," Richard said without preamble. "The numbers aren't adding up and Chen is getting nervous." "Let Marcus handle it," Lucas said. "I'm taking some personal time." "Personal time? Since when do you take personal time?" Richard sounded shocked. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, better than fine, actually." Lucas took a sip of his scotch. "I found out I have a son." The silence on the other end was profound. "A son?" Richard finally said. "With who?" "Naomi Ellis. Your ex, the one who disappeared?" Richard's voice rose. "She had your kid and didn't tell you? That's messed up, man. You should sue for full custody." "It's not that simple," Lucas said, surprised at his own reluctance to attack Naomi. "She's been a good mother, and Tyler's happy. Still, what she did was wrong." "Yes, it was," Lucas agreed. "But right now, I'm focused on building a relationship with my son, not fighting with his mother." After he hung up, Lucas realized something had shifted inside him. A week ago, he might have agreed with Richard, might have been determined to punish Naomi for keeping Tyler from him. But now, seeing how well-adjusted and happy his son was, he found his anger giving way to something more complex. The next morning, Naomi arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Tyler was still in his pajamas, helping Lucas make pancakes, or rather making a mess with pancake batter while Lucas tried to cook. "Mommy!" Tyler ran to her, sticky hands and all. "Daddy's making pancakes, but they keep burning." Naomi laughed despite herself. "Is that so?" "I'm not exactly a chef," Lucas admitted, scraping another blackened pancake into the trash. "Here, let me." Naomi took the spatula from him. "Tyler, go wash those hands and get dressed. But the pancakes will be ready when you come back," she promised. As Tyler ran off, Lucas watched Naomi expertly flip a perfect golden brown pancake. "Show off," he teased. She gave him a small smile. "Years of practice." "He had a great time," Lucas said. Thank you for letting him stay. He called me last night, very excited about the dinosaur sheets. I might have gone overboard on the dinosaur theme. He loves it. She flipped another pancake. So you're really staying in Grand Rapids? For now, I can run most of the business. Remotely. And the important meetings? Well, that's what private jets are for. She nodded, not meeting his eyes. And the house? It's a bit much for occasional visits. I want Tyler to feel comfortable when he stays with me, to have his own space. And when you get tired of playing suburban dad, when the novelty wears off. There was an edge to her voice now. That's not going to happen, Lucas said firmly. He's my son, Naomi. I'm in this for life. She finally looked at him, her eyes searching his. I hope so. Because if you disappear on him now after he's gotten attached to you, I won't, Lucas interrupted. I know you don't trust me, and given our history, I understand why. But I'm not going anywhere. Daddy, Tyler called from upstairs. I can't find my socks. Coming, buddy. Lucas turned back to Naomi. I meant what I said. I'm not walking away from him, or from... He stopped, not sure how to finish that sentence. From you. Is that what he wanted to say? The moment was broken. As Tyler thundered back down the stairs, only half-dressed. After breakfast, Lucas walked them to Naomi's car. So what's the plan for today? He asked casually. Tyler has soccer practice at noon, Naomi said. Then we usually go to my mom's for Sunday dinner. Could I come to both? When Naomi hesitated, Lucas added, Please, I want to see every part of his life. Soccer practice would be fine, she said after a moment. But dinner at my mom's, that might be a bit much right now. Your mom doesn't like me, Lucas guessed. She doesn't know you, Naomi corrected. And she's been very protective of us. Fair enough, just soccer practice then. Tyler, who had been listening to this exchange, tugged on Naomi's hand. Can Daddy come to Grandma's too? Please? I want to show him my dinosaur collection there. Naomi looked torn. Tyler, I don't think... Please, Mommy. Tyler's eyes grew round and pleading. Grandma will like him. He's nice. Lucas bit back a smile at his son's simple faith in both him and his grandmother. All right, Naomi sighed. But Lucas, my mom can be at the direct. I can handle it, Lucas assured her. Soccer practice was held at a local park, where a dozen 5- and 6-year-olds ran chaotically after a ball while 2 patient coaches tried to teach them the basics of the game. Lucas stood on the sidelines with the other parents, feeling oddly out of place in his designer jeans and leather jacket among the casual suburban crowd. You must be Tyler's dad, a woman in a practical ponytail said, extending her hand. I'm Jessica, Noah's mom. Tyler talks about you all the time. Lucas frowned. He does, but we only just met. Jessica looked confused. Oh, I just assumed. He's always talking about his dad, the businessman who lives in Chicago. Lucas glanced at Naomi, who was suddenly very interested in her phone. Has he? He asked softly. He's never lied about you, Naomi said defensively. I've always told him about you, who you are, what you do. I showed him pictures. I wanted him to know you, even if... She trailed off. Even if I was never going. To be part of his life? Lucas finished for her. I told you I was planning to contact you eventually. When, Naomi? When he was 10, 20? When were you going to decide he was ready to know his father? I don't know, she admitted, her voice rising slightly. I was trying to figure it out. It wasn't an easy decision. It should have been the easiest decision in the world, Lucas said. A child deserves to know both parents. Not if one of those parents is going to hurt him, Naomi shot back. And you decided I would? Based on one overheard conversation? Before Naomi could respond, Tyler ran over, red-faced and excited. Did you see me kick the ball, Daddy? I almost scored a goal. Lucas pushed his anger aside, smiling at his son. I did see. You were great out there. Next time I'll score for Ooh. Sure, Tyler said confidently. Can you come to my game next Saturday? We play the Tigers and they're really good, but Coach says we can beat them if we practice. I wouldn't miss it for the world, Lucas promised. The look of pure joy on Tyler's face made Lucas's heart swell. Nothing, not business, not his complicated feelings for Naomi, not even his justified anger over the past, was going to keep him from being there for his son. Dinner at Linda Ellis's house was exactly as awkward as Naomi had predicted. The older woman watched Lucas like a hawk, her expression somewhere between suspicion and reluctant curiosity. "So," she said, as they sat around her dining table, "you just appeared out of nowhere after 5 years?" "Mom," Naomi warned. "It's okay," Lucas said. "Actually, Mrs. Ellis, it was a complete accident. I was given the wrong room key at a hotel and ended up walking into Naomi and Tyler's suite." "A coincidence?" Linda raised an eyebrow. "Seems hard to believe." "I couldn't believe it either," Lucas admitted. "But it happened, and I'm grateful it did, because otherwise, I might never have known my son." Linda studied him for a moment. "And now you're renting a house here? Just like that, you're uprooting your life?" "For Tyler, yes, without hesitation. And your business?" "We'll manage without me being physically present all the time." "Grandma, Daddy's house has a basketball." "Hope," Tyler chimed in. "And he says I can have friends over to play sometime." Linda's expression softened as she looked at her grandson's excited face. "Is that so? Well, that's nice." After dinner, Tyler insisted on showing Lucas his dinosaur collection, which was displayed on special shelves in Linda's spare bedroom. "This is a Brachiosaurus," Tyler explained, holding up a plastic figure. "It has a really long neck for eating leaves from tall trees." "Very impressive," Lucas said, genuinely amazed at his son's knowledge. "Mommy gets me a new one for every birthday. And Christmas," Tyler continued, showing off more figures. "And sometimes just because." "Your mom is pretty great, isn't she?" Lucas said, loud enough for Naomi to hear as she passed by the door. She paused, looking surprised at the compliment. "She's the best mom ever," Tyler agreed. "And now I have the best daddy too, right?" "I'm trying to be," Lucas said honestly. Later, as they prepared to leave, Linda pulled Lucas aside. "My daughter and grandson mean everything to me," she said firmly. "If you hurt either of them, you'll answer to me." "I understand," Lucas said, "but I promise you I'm here for Tyler for good." Linda nodded, apparently satisfied for now. "Well, you make a mean pancake, according to my grandson." Lucas laughed. "Actually, I burned them all. Naomi had to take over." "Some things never change," Linda said with a hint of a smile. "She's always been the practical one." As they walked to their cars, Tyler yawning between them, Lucas found himself wondering about all the little things he didn't know about Naomi, how she'd changed, what her life had been like these past years raising their son alone. "I should go," Lucas said, when they reached Naomi's car. "I have some work calls to make tonight." "Back to reality, huh?" Naomi said, a hint of the old hurt in her voice. "Not exactly." "I'm opening a branch office here," Lucas told her. "I've already started looking at commercial properties." Her eyes widened. "You're serious about staying?" "I told you I was." He knelt down to Tyler's level. "Good night, buddy. I'll see you after school tomorrow, okay?" "Promise?" Tyler asked sleepily. "Promise." Lucas gave him a hug, still marveling at how natural it felt already. "Sweet dreams." As he drove back to his rental house, Lucas thought about the weekend, his first as a father. It had been exhausting, confusing, wonderful, and terrifying all at once. And somewhere amidst the pancake disasters and soccer practice and dinosaur lessons, something unexpected had happened. He'd started to forgive Naomi. Not completely, not yet. But seeing her with Tyler, understanding the life she'd built for their son, had begun to heal a wound he'd carried for 5 long years. His phone rang. Richard again, with more questions. About the Singapore deal. Lucas answered briefly, promising to review the contracts tomorrow. As he hung up, he realized something else had changed. For the first time in his adult life, business wasn't his top priority. Not even close. His son was, and maybe, just maybe, there was room in his heart for someone else too. 1 month later, Lucas sat in the bleachers at Tyler's soccer game, cheering loudly as his son ran down the field with fierce determination. Beside him, Naomi clapped and called out encouragement. "Go, Tyler! You've got this!" It had become their Saturday morning routine, watching Tyler play, then lunch at the local diner where Tyler always ordered chocolate chip pancakes. "He's really improved," Lucas commented, as Tyler successfully passed the ball to a teammate. "The extra practice with you has helped," Naomi admitted. "He loves those evenings in the backyard." Lucas smiled. They'd fallen into a comfortable rhythm over the past weeks. Tyler spent Wednesday nights and every other weekend at Lucas's house, and Lucas picked him up from school on Mondays and Thursdays for dinner. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension, disagreements about parenting styles, and the occasional argument about the past. But for Tyler's sake, they had learned to work together. "My office is almost ready," Lucas said, referring to the downtown space he'd leased for his company's new branch. "The renovations should be done by next week." "So you're officially staying in Grand Rapids," Naomi said, not quite a question. "I told you I would," she nodded, her eyes still on the game. "Tyler's teacher mentioned the father-son camping trip coming up. He's very excited about it." "Me too," Lucas said, though in truth, the thought of sleeping on the ground in a tent filled him with dread. But he'd do it for Tyler. He'd do anything for Tyler. On the field, their son scored a goal and turned immediately to the bleachers, his face alight with pride as he searched for his parents. Lucas and Naomi both jumped to their feet, cheering wildly. "That's my boy," Lucas called, his heart swelling with pride. After the game, Tyler's team won by 1 goal. They headed to the diner as planned. Tyler recounted every play of the game between bites of pancake, his excitement contagious. "And did you see when I kicked it right past Billy? He's the best defender on their team." "We saw," Naomi assured him. "You were amazing. The best player." "On the field," Lucas added. Tyler beamed, then tilted his head thoughtfully. "Jason's dad and mom are going to his soccer game together, and they're divorced, but they still like each other." "Are you guys divorced?" Lucas and Naomi exchanged startled looks. They'd never actually discussed what to tell Tyler about their past relationship. "Well," Naomi began carefully, "your dad and I weren't married, so we can't be divorced, but we were together for a long time. And we loved each other very much," Lucas added, surprising himself with the truth of the words. "That's how we made you," Tyler seemed to consider this. "But you don't love each other now?" Another loaded glance passed between the adults. "We care about each other," Naomi said diplomatically, "because we both love you so much." "But do you like each other?" Tyler pressed. "Because you don't hug or kiss like Jason's parents do even, though they're divorced." Lucas coughed, nearly choking on his coffee. "Well, buddy, it's complicated. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to answer," Tyler said with the devastating honesty of a 5-year-old. Naomi smothered a laugh. "You're right, Tyler, but sometimes things really are complicated between grown-ups." Tyler shrugged, already losing interest in the topic. "Can we go to the park after this? I want to try the new swing set they put in." "Sure," Lucas said, grateful for the change of subject. But Tyler's questions had stirred something in him, an awareness of the unresolved feelings between him and Naomi. At the park, while Tyler played with some friends from his soccer team, Lucas and Naomi sat on a bench watching him. "He's getting more direct with his questions," Naomi observed. "Wonder where he gets that from," Lucas said with a sidelong glance. She smiled. "Probably you. You always did cut right to the chase." "Me? You're the one who never minced words. Remember, telling me my first apartment looked like a frat house designed by someone who'd only heard of frat houses but never seen one." Naomi laughed. "Well, it did. All that black leather and chrome. I thought it was sophisticated. It was awful," she said, still smiling at the memory. "But I loved you enough to live there anyway." The casual mention of love from the past hung in the air between them. "I've been thinking about what Tyler asked," Lucas said after a moment. "About us." "Lucas, no, hear me out. This past month has been good. Better than I expected. We work well together as parents. Tyler's happy, and He took a deep breath. "I've missed you, Naomi. Not just during the 5 years we were apart. I've missed you every day since you walked out of my life." Naomi looked away. "We can't go back. I'm not asking to go back. I'm talking about moving forward, together." She finally met his eyes. "How would that even work? You've forgiven me for keeping Tyler from you?" "I'm working on it," he said honestly. "And what about you? Have you forgiven me for being so wrapped up in my business that you felt you couldn't tell me about our child?" Naomi was quiet for a long moment. "I'm working on it too. It wasn't much, but it was a start. That evening, after dropping Tyler back at Naomi's, Lucas drove to his rental house feeling oddly unsettled. The conversation at the park had opened a door he'd been afraid to approach. He'd been so focused on building a relationship with Tyler, on making up for lost time, that he'd pushed aside his feelings for Naomi. But they were there, simmering, beneath the surface. The next morning, Lucas was in the kitchen making coffee when his phone rang. It was Richard. "We lost the Singapore deal," Richard said without preamble. Chen went with Davis's offer instead. Lucas frowned. Michael Davis was his biggest competitor and the man who'd tried to take over his company when Lucas had been focused on finding Naomi years ago. "Why?" Lucas asked. "Our numbers were better. Apparently, Davis convinced him that you're not focused on the business anymore. Said you're distracted by personal matters." Lucas felt a surge of the old familiar anger and ambition. "Guys, that's ridiculous. I'm as committed as ever." But even as he said it, Lucas knew it wasn't entirely true. His priorities had shifted dramatically. 5 weeks ago, losing the Singapore deal would have sent him into a rage, would have had him working around the clock to find a way to salvage it or get revenge on Davis. Now, he felt annoyed but not devastated. "Maybe Davis is right," Richard said. "Maybe you are distracted. And maybe that's okay, Lucas. You've been killing yourself for this company for years. Maybe it's time to live a little." After hanging up, Lucas sat with his coffee thinking. For so long, his identity had been tied to his business success. He'd measured his worth by deals closed, profits made, competitors crushed. Now there was Tyler, and maybe, just maybe, Naomi too. Before he could overthink it, Lucas grabbed his keys and drove to Naomi's house. It was early, just past 8, but he knew she'd be up. She'd always been an early riser. She answered the door in yoga pants and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked beautiful. "Lucas? What's wrong? Is it Tyler's camping permission slip? Because I already signed it. I love you," he blurted out. "I never stopped loving you. Even when I was furious with you, even when I tried to convince myself I hated you for leaving, I loved you." Naomi stared at him, speechless. "I know it's complicated," he continued. "I know we have 5 years of hurt and absence between us. I know you probably don't trust me yet, but I want to try again, not just for Tyler's sake, but for us. Lucas, I just lost a huge business deal," he interrupted. "The old me would be on a plane right now, trying to fix it, plotting revenge, against the guy who took it from me. But you know what? I don't care because I finally understand what really matters." "And what's that?" Naomi asked softly. "Family, you and Tyler, that's what matters, that's what I want." Before she could respond, Tyler appeared behind her, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Daddy, why are you here so early?" Lucas knelt down to his son's level. "I needed to tell your mom something important, something I should have told her a long time ago." Tyler yawned. "What?" Lucas glanced up at Naomi, who was watching him with an unreadable expression. "That I love her, very much." Tyler's face lit up. "Really? Like in the movies?" "Even better than the movies," Lucas assured him. "Does that mean you'll live with us now?" Tyler asked hopefully. "Because Jason's parents got back together, and now they all live in one house again." "Tyler, honey," Naomi finally spoke, "it's not that simple." "Why not?" Tyler and Lucas asked simultaneously. Naomi laughed despite herself. "Because grown-up relationships need time. Your dad and I need to get to know each other again." "But you do like him, right?" Tyler pressed. "Because sometimes I see you smiling at him when he's not looking." Naomi blushed. "Tyler! And sometimes Daddy stares at you when you're helping me with homework. Like this." Tyler demonstrated an exaggerated, dreamy expression that made Lucas laugh. "Okay, buddy, I think you've embarrassed us both enough for one morning," Lucas said, ruffling his son's hair. "Why don't you go get dressed while I talk to your mom?" When Tyler disappeared back into the house, Naomi stepped onto the porch, closing the door partially behind her. "You can't just show up on my doorstep and declare your love, Lucas," she said, but there was no anger in her voice. "That's not how real life works." "Then how does it work?" he challenged. "Because I've spent 5 years without you, and the past month with you, even just as co-parents, has been the happiest I've been since you left." "I'm scared," she admitted. "We hurt each other before. What's to stop it from happening again? We're different people now. I'm not that workaholic who put business first anymore. And you're not the young woman who runs away from problems instead of facing them." She winced. "Ouch. But fair." "I'm not saying it would be easy," Lucas continued, "but I think it would be worth it. For us and for Tyler." Naomi was quiet for a long moment. "I need time, Lucas. This is a lot to process." "Of course," he said, trying to hide his disappointment. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." A small smile touched her lips. "No, you're not. You've made that very clear." She hesitated, then added, "But maybe we could start with dinner. Just the two of us." Hope bloomed in Lucas's chest. "Dinner would be perfect. My mother's been asking to meet Tyler anyway. She could babysit." "Your mother?" Naomi looked surprised. "You've told her about Tyler?" "Of course. She's over the moon about having a grandson. She's planning to visit next week." "You've really committed to this new life, haven't you?" Naomi said, a hint of wonder in her voice. "Completely," Lucas assured her. 100%. From inside the house, Tyler called out, "Mommy, I can't find my dinosaur socks." "Be right there," Naomi called back. She turned to Lucas. "Parenting calls." "I know the feeling," he said with a smile. "So, dinner? Friday night?" She nodded. "Friday night. It's a date." The word date hung in the air between them, full of possibility. Friday evening arrived both too quickly and not quickly enough for Lucas. He'd made reservations at the best restaurant in Grand Rapids, a place overlooking the river. He'd even bought a new tie for the occasion. His mother, Patricia Remington, had arrived from Chicago that morning, eager to meet her grandson. The introduction had gone well. Tyler was instantly charmed by Patricia's warm manner and the stack of presents she'd brought. "He's wonderful, Lucas," Patricia said, as they watched Tyler playing in the backyard. "He has your spirit." "And my stubbornness, according to Naomi," Lucas added with a smile. "She seems like a remarkable woman," Patricia observed, "to have raised him so well on her own." "She is remarkable," Lucas agreed, "and I was a fool to let her get away the first time." Patricia patted his hand. "We all make mistakes, darling. The important thing is learning from them." She gave him a knowing look. "And it seems you have." When Naomi arrived to drop off Tyler's overnight bag, Lucas was struck by how beautiful she looked, her dark hair falling in loose waves, wearing a simple blue dress that brought out the color of her eyes. "You look amazing," he said. A hint of color touched her cheeks. "Thank you. So it's been a while since I had a reason to dress up." After introducing Naomi to his mother and going over emergency contact information, twice at Naomi's insistence, they were finally on their way. The restaurant was intimate, with soft lighting and views of the sunset over the river. As they settled at their table, Lucas realized he was nervous, something he couldn't remember feeling on a date since he was a teenager. "This is strange, isn't it?" Naomi said, seeming to read his thoughts. "The last time we had dinner alone together. Was the night before you left," Lucas finished. "You made that pasta dish I loved. And you were on your phone most of the evening," she reminded him. He winced. "I wasn't I? I'm sorry." "Ancient history," she said with a wave of her hand. "We've both changed." Over dinner, they carefully avoided the heaviest topics, instead catching up on the 5 years they'd been apart. Lucas told her about the growth of his company, the ups and downs, the lessons learned. Naomi shared stories of Tyler's early years, his first steps, first words, the funny things he'd said as a toddler. "I wish I'd been there," Lucas said wistfully. "No," Naomi said, "and I'm sorry you weren't. I made a mistake, Lucas, a big one." "We both did," he acknowledged. "But we can't change the past. We can only decide what happens next." By dessert, the initial awkwardness had faded, replaced by the easy rapport they'd once shared. Lucas found himself laughing at Naomi's workplace stories, and she seemed genuinely interested in his plans for the Grand Rapids office. "You're really settling in here, aren't you?" she asked. "I am. It feels right." He hesitated, then added, "Being near you and Tyler feels right." Her eyes met his across the table. Lucas, I know, we're taking it slow, he smiled, but I needed you to know that. After dinner, they walked along the riverfront, the evening air cool but pleasant. Without thinking, Lucas took Naomi's hand. She didn't pull away. Tyler asked me something interesting yesterday, Naomi said after they'd walked in companionable silence for a while. What was that? He asked if you were going to be his real dad now. I tried to explain that you've always been his real dad, just not in his daily life. And he said, no, I mean like in the same house, making pancakes every day. Lucas chuckled. He's very fixated on those pancakes, considering how bad mine are. I think what he really wants is for us to be a family, Naomi said softly. A traditional family living under one roof. Lucas stopped walking and turned to face her. And what do you want, Naomi? She looked up at him, the moonlight reflecting in her eyes. I want what's best for Tyler, always. Of course, but what about for you? Naomi took a deep breath. I want not to be afraid anymore. I spent 5 years worried that I'd made the wrong choice, that Tyler would resent me someday for keeping him from you. And then I was afraid of what would happen when you found out, afraid you'd try to take him away. She squeezed his hand. But you didn't. You've been patient and kind and so good with him. I love him, Lucas said simply. How could I not? He's part of you and part of me. And that's another thing, Naomi continued. Seeing you with him, seeing how naturally you took to being a father, it made me realize I might have been wrong about you, about what kind of father you would be. Lucas felt a weight lift from his chest, a weight he hadn't even realized he was carrying. That means a lot to me. And then there's this, she said, gesturing between them. This connection that's still there, even after everything. I've tried dating over the years, you know. Nothing ever felt right. For me either, Lucas admitted. No one ever measured. Up to you. Naomi smiled. So to answer your question, what I want is a chance for us to see if we can build something real again, not just for Tyler's sake, but for our own. Before Lucas could respond, his phone rang. It was his mother. Lucas, I'm so sorry to interrupt your evening, Patricia said, sounding frazzled. But Tyler had a nightmare and he's asking for both of you. I've tried everything, but he's quite upset. We'll be right there, Lucas promised, already guiding Naomi back toward the car. They found Tyler in tears, clinging to Patricia's neck. The moment he saw them, he reached out his arms. Mommy, Daddy, he sobbed. I had a bad dream that you went away again and didn't come back. Naomi and Lucas exchanged pained looks as they both rushed to comfort him. We're right here, sweetie, Naomi soothed, stroking his hair. We're not going anywhere. But you were gone and I was all alone, Tyler hiccuped. Listen to me, buddy, Lucas said firmly. Your mum and I will always be here for you. Always. No matter what. Even if we're not in the same place, we're still your parents and we still love you more than anything in the world. Tyler's sobs quieted as he looked between them. Promise? We promise, they said in unison. It took nearly an hour to get Tyler settled back to sleep, with both parents lying on either side of him until his breathing evened out. As they tiptoed out of the room, Lucas whispered, He's never had nightmares like that before. Actually, he has, Naomi admitted, about you leaving. He's had them on and off since you came into his life. I think he's afraid of losing you now that he's found you. Lucas felt his heart breaking. I would never leave him. I know that. But he's 5 and change is scary. She hesitated. Maybe we should rethink things. What do you mean? This dating, taking it slow approach. Maybe it's confusing him, Lucas frowned. So what are you suggesting, that we stop seeing each other? No, Naomi said. The opposite, actually. She took a deep breath. Maybe we should consider a more stable arrangement, for Tyler's sake. Lucas stared at her. Are you proposing to me? She laughed softly. Not exactly, but I am suggesting that maybe we should think about being a real family. The 3 of us, together, if that's something you want. It's all I want, Lucas said, drawing her into his arms. It's all I've wanted since the moment I walked into that hotel room and found you both. Over Naomi's shoulder, he saw his mother watching them from the doorway, a knowing smile on her face. She nodded approvingly, then quietly retreated to give them privacy. "It won't be easy," Naomi warned, looking up at him. "We still have a lot to work through." "Nothing worth having ever is," Lucas said. "But we'll figure it out. Together." And there, in the hallway outside his son's bedroom, Lucas Remington finally kissed Naomi Ellis for the first time in 5 years. It felt like coming home. 3 months later, Lucas stood in the garden of his new house, their house, watching as Tyler chased the family's new puppy across the lawn. Through the kitchen window, he could see Naomi and his mother preparing dinner, laughing together over something. The sea. Move had been smoother than expected. Naomi had put her small house on the market, and they'd found a place that was perfect for all of them. Not as ostentatious as Lucas might have chosen before, but warm and homey with plenty of space for Tyler to play. His phone buzzed with a text from Richard. "Davis lost the Tokyo account. Looks like karma's real after all. Want to swoop in?" A year ago, Lucas would have jumped at the chance to steal a client from his rival. Now he typed back, "Not interested. Enjoy the weekend." He put his phone away as Tyler ran up to him, the puppy at his heels. "Daddy, can we go swimming after dinner? You promised." "I did promise," Lucas agreed. "And what do we always say about promises?" "That Remingtons always keep their promises," Tyler recited proudly. He had taken Lucas's last name just a month ago, making the name change official right before starting. "First grade." "That's right," Lucas said, ruffling his son's hair. "Go tell your mom and grandma that dinner better be quick, because we have important swimming to do." As Tyler raced inside, Lucas looked around at the life he'd never imagined, but now couldn't live without. For years, he'd measured success by his bank account, by deals closed and competitors defeated. Now he knew better. Success was the sound of his son's laughter. It was the feeling of Naomi's hand in his at night. It was Sunday dinners with both grandmothers at the table, arguing good-naturedly over whose recipe was better. Naomi appeared at the back door. "Dinner's almost ready. What are you doing out here all alone?" "Just thinking about how lucky I am," Lucas said. "How one wrong hotel room changed everything." She smiled, coming to stand beside him. "It wasn't luck, Lucas. It was fate." "Fate?" He raised an eyebrow. "I thought you didn't believe in that kind of thing." "I didn't," she admitted. "But now I think maybe some things are meant to be. Maybe we needed those 5 years apart to grow into the people who could really love each other. The right way." Lucas put his arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "Well, whatever it was, luck, fate, or just terrible hotel management, I'm grateful." "Me too," Naomi said, leaning into him, "though sometimes I still can't believe you." "Forgave me. And I can't believe you forgave me," Lucas replied. "But that's what love is, isn't it? Forgiveness, second chances." "And pancakes," Naomi added with a laugh. "Lots and lots of burned pancakes." "I'm getting better." "You're really not," she teased. "But we love you anyway." Inside, Tyler called out for them, impatient for dinner and swimming and all the joys of a family evening at home. Hand in hand, Lucas and Naomi walked back into the house, back to their son, back to the family they had finally become. It had taken a wrong turn into the right room for Lucas Remington to find what had been missing from his life, and he would never let it go again.